My beloved child, do not scroll away from this message too quickly. Do not treat these words as ordinary, because I am speaking to your heart today. There are moments in life when heaven whispers gently, and there are moments when I speak with urgency, because what I want you to understand cannot wait. This is one of those moments. I know you have been carrying questions that you do not always speak out loud. I know there are battles inside you that others cannot see. You smile in front of people while quietly carrying burdens in your spirit. You have tried to remain strong, tried to keep faith alive, tried to move forward even when your strength felt small. And now you are wondering if I still see you, if I still hear you, if I still have a plan for you. If you believe God brought this message to you today, write, "I will not ignore God's voice." My child, do not ignore this. You did not arrive here by accident. You did not hear this message because of coincidence. I know how tired you have become from waiting. I know how disappointment has tried to settle into your heart. There were prayers you whispered with tears that seemed to rise into silence. There were nights when you lay awake wondering why answers felt delayed. And there were moments when fear quietly asked you if I had forgotten your name. But listen carefully, I have not forgotten you. Not for 1 second. Before you ever spoke your first prayer, I already knew the cry hidden in your soul. Before fear entered your thoughts, I had already prepared grace for your tomorrow. Before the enemy tried to convince you that you were abandoned, I had already surrounded you with my presence. You have been measuring your life by what you can see, but I am working beyond what your eyes can understand. There are things shifting around you that you cannot yet recognize. There are doors I am protecting you from that you would have opened too soon. There are battles I have already fought for you without you even realizing it. And that is why I am asking you not to ignore this message, because what I am about to tell you matters. You have allowed disappointment to speak louder than my promises. You have let fear sit too close to your thoughts. And although your heart still believes, part of you has become weary from hoping. I do not condemn you for this. I understand your humanity. I know the pressure you have carried, but I am calling you back to confidence. Do not allow temporary silence to make you question eternal truth. Just because you do not see movement does not mean I am absent. Just because the answer has not appeared yet does not mean I am saying no. Sometimes I am preparing you while preparing the blessing. Sometimes I delay what you want because I am protecting what you need. And sometimes what feels like rejection is actually divine redirection. You have been asking me why certain things ended, why some people walked away, why doors closed unexpectedly, why plans failed after you invested your heart into them. My child, there are endings that hurt because they interrupt your expectations, but those endings are not evidence of abandonment. They are evidence of my protection. You do not always see danger before it arrives. You do not always recognize what would have wounded your peace. But I see everything. I know what would have distracted you. I know what would have damaged your spirit. I know what would have stolen your purpose. And because I love you, I sometimes close doors that you would have begged to keep open. I know that hurt you. I know that confusion followed. But hear me now. What I removed with purpose. What I delayed with wisdom. What I closed with love. And what I have prepared for you cannot be stopped by human opinion, delayed by fear, or destroyed by opposition. If you are waiting on God for a breakthrough, declare in faith, God, I am still working in my life. Do not ignore this truth. The enemy has been trying to exhaust you mentally, not always through dramatic attacks, but through quiet discouragement, through overthinking, through worry that keeps returning, through memories that reopen wounds, through whispers that tell you that nothing will change. But those whispers are not my voice. My voice brings peace. My voice brings clarity. My voice reminds you of who you are. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not defeated. You are still mine, and I need you to stop agreeing with the fear that has been speaking against your future. Some of you listening have been carrying invisible heartbreak. You trusted people who disappointed you. You loved deeply and were left with unanswered questions. You prayed for stability but found uncertainty instead. And now you are afraid to hope again because disappointment taught you to guard your heart. But my child, do not let pain become your identity. What hurt you is not who you are. What failed is not your final story. You may have experienced loss, but you have not lost my purpose for your life. I am still writing your story, and the chapter you are in is not the ending. I need you to hear this carefully. You have been asking for signs while ignoring the ways I have already been speaking. I have spoken through peace. I have spoken through restraint. I have spoken through conviction. I have spoken through unexpected encouragement and quiet reminders. But sometimes you look for dramatic evidence while overlooking gentle direction. Slow down, come closer, listen again. My final message to you today is not a message of fear. It is not a message of hopelessness. It is a message of awakening. Wake up to my presence. Wake up to my faithfulness. Wake up to the truth that you are not fighting alone. There are blessings still forming. There are prayers still moving. There are answers still unfolding. Do not surrender to despair when heaven is still working. You have survived battles you once believed would destroy you. Remember that. There were seasons when you thought you would break, yet here you are. Not because you carried yourself, but because I carried you. My hand has been over your life in ways you never fully understood. And I am not finished. What feels delayed is not dead. What seems impossible is not beyond me. What appears silent is not abandoned. I know you want certainty. I know you want timelines. I know you want immediate clarity. But faith grows strongest when you trust my heart before you see my hand. Take a moment and write one word you need from God today. Peace, healing, strength, or hope. So today I am asking something from you. Release the burden of trying to control everything. Release the fear of what may happen. Release the pressure to have every answer. Give me your worry again. Give me your heaviness again. Give me your uncertainty again, because you were never meant to carry tomorrow alone. My child, this is not the time to quit. Do not let temporary frustration make permanent decisions for your future. Do not walk away from hope. Do not abandon prayer. Do not silence your faith. Because breakthrough often comes when people are most tempted to give up. You are closer than you think. And though the road has felt long, I have not wasted your waiting. I have been building strength in you. I have been shaping wisdom in you. I have been teaching you dependence that success alone could never teach. You may not understand everything now, but one day you will look back and recognize that even the painful moments carried purpose. So, lift your head again, breathe again, trust again, and remember this message. Do not ignore what I am speaking to your spirit today. You are loved more than you know. You are seen more than you realize. My child, there is something I need you to understand about this season you are living through. You have been calling this season a delay, but I call it preparation. You have been calling it silence, but I call it positioning. You have been calling it confusion, but I have been using it to awaken wisdom inside you. Do not misunderstand what is happening around you. Not every uncomfortable season is punishment. Not every closed door is rejection. Not every waiting period is failure. Some seasons are sacred classrooms where I teach my children to depend on me more deeply than before. And I know that lesson is not easy. You wanted quick answers. You wanted immediate relief. You wanted clarity that removed all uncertainty. But sometimes certainty becomes a substitute for trust, and I am teaching you something greater than control. I am teaching you to know my heart. If this message touched your heart, write, Lord, I am listening, you have prayed. Lord, show me the next step. And I hear that prayer. But before I show you the entire road, I often strengthen the one who must walk it. Because blessings require stewardship, purpose requires maturity, and destiny requires spiritual endurance. Do not ignore this. You have been growing in ways you do not fully recognize. The pressure you endured did not destroy you. The disappointment you survived did not erase your purpose. The tears you cried were not unnoticed. Every lesson, every struggle, every quiet surrender has been shaping something inside you. You compare yourself to others and wonder why their path seems smoother. You watch people around you celebrating victories while you still wrestle with unanswered prayers. And sometimes envy tries to whisper into your heart, maybe God is moving for them and not for me. But that whisper is not truth. I do not measure your life against someone else's timeline. What I am doing in you is unique. What I am building through you is personal, and comparison will only distract you from the work I am accomplishing in your own journey. My child, stop measuring your worth by visible success. You live in a world that celebrates appearance, applause, and quick results. But I look deeper than appearances. I see motives. I see character. I see the hidden faithfulness no one else notices. Some of your greatest victories have happened in secret. The moment you chose kindness instead of bitterness. The moment you kept praying while feeling discouraged. The moment you resisted giving up. The moment you forgave even while hurting. Those moments mattered. Heaven noticed. And I need you to stop believing that unseen faithfulness is insignificant. You have asked me why the battle feels so intense lately. You have wondered why discouragement has appeared suddenly. You have questioned why opposition seems stronger than before. Listen carefully. Sometimes resistance increases because movement is near. Sometimes warfare intensifies because breakthrough is approaching. The enemy does not waste effort attacking what carries no purpose. And although I do not want you to live in fear of opposition, I do want you to understand that spiritual battles are often fought in the mind before they appear anywhere else. Declare this over your life in the comments. My story, is not over God, is still moving. That is why your thoughts matter. The enemy wants agreement. He wants you to agree with hopelessness. He wants you to agree with failure. He wants you to agree with shame and limitation. But I am calling you into agreement with my truth instead. My truth says you are not defeated. My truth says your future is not ruined. My truth says that your value was never dependent on human approval. Some of you listening have become exhausted because you are trying to carry burdens I never asked you to hold. You carry guilt from old mistakes. You carry responsibility for everyone's emotions. You carry anxiety about tomorrow. You carry pressure to fix what only I can heal. And your spirit feels heavy because you were never designed to carry all of this alone. I did not create you to be your own savior. I created you to walk with me. So let me ask you something. Why are you holding so tightly to burdens you keep asking me to remove? You pray for peace, but continue feeding fear. You ask for freedom while holding on to old chains. You ask for healing while replaying wounds that I am trying to restore. My child, surrender is not weakness. Surrender is trust. And there are things you must release if you want room for what I am bringing next. Release the need to understand every detail. Release the need to prove yourself. Release the fear that you are running out of time. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not beyond redemption. I know that some of you carry regret. Regret over choices. Regret over wasted years. Regret over words spoken in anger or opportunities lost through fear. And regret has convinced you that your best days are behind you. But hear me clearly. I am not limited by your past. I redeem, I restore, I renew. The enemy points backward to trap you in shame. I point forward toward restoration. Your mistakes may explain part of your story, but they do not own your future. Do not ignore this truth. You are not disqualified. Some of the people I have used most powerfully were people who once believed they had failed too deeply. But grace rewrites stories, mercy rebuilds lives, and purpose survives what guilt tries to bury. You have been too hard on yourself. You speak to yourself with a harshness I never intended. You call yourself weak. You call yourself behind. You call yourself broken. Yet I see someone still standing after battles that should have crushed them. I see resilience. I see growth. I see a heart that still reaches toward me despite disappointment. And I am proud of the strength you do not even recognize in yourself. My child, there is also something else I need to address. You have allowed certain voices too much authority over your emotions, the opinions of people, the criticism of others, the pressure to meet expectations. And without realizing it, you have given human voices more power than my voice. If you refuse to give up on your faith, I choose to trust God. That must change. Not everyone understands your calling. Not everyone will support your journey. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. And that is okay. You do not need universal approval to walk in divine purpose. Some people only understood the version of you that stayed small. And when you begin growing, healing, and changing, discomfort appears. Do not shrink to protect other people's comfort. Do not silence your calling to avoid criticism. And do not mistake rejection from people as rejection from me. My approval is not fragile. My love is not conditional. And my plans are not cancelled because someone misunderstood you. You have spent too much energy trying to explain yourself. Rest. Not every misunderstanding requires defense. Not every criticism deserves your attention. And not every closed relationship needs resurrection. Some connections were seasonal, some lessons were temporary, and some endings were necessary. I know loneliness has visited you. I know there are moments when you wish someone understood your heart more deeply. I know you sometimes feel emotionally isolated, even when surrounded by people. But do not let loneliness convince you that you are alone. I am near, closer than your fear, closer than your tears, closer than your unanswered questions. And there are people I am preparing to walk beside you in healthier, stronger ways. Do not lose hope in relationships because of past disappointments. Healing is possible. Healthy connection is possible. Trust rebuilt through wisdom is possible. But first, allow me to heal what pain has damaged. My child, I see the secret places of your heart, the dreams you hesitate to mention, the hopes you protect from disappointment, the prayers you stopped repeating because waiting became painful. And I want you to know something important. Just because you became quiet about your dream does not mean I stopped hearing it. Some of you are carrying dreams that feel impossible now. Write amen if you believe God has not forgotten you and is preparing something greater. Dreams interrupted by finances, dreams delayed by fear, dreams buried beneath responsibility and survival. And you wonder if those dreams are gone forever. But do not bury what I have planted. Not every dream will unfold exactly as you imagined, but do not confuse delay with death. I am able to create pathways where none appear visible. I am able to restore courage that fear tried to silence. I am able to revive hope. You have seen limitation and concluded that possibility is over. But I do not operate within human limitation. You focus on resources, I focus on provision, you focus on obstacles. I see solutions beyond your imagination. And this is why faith matters. Faith is not pretending problems do not exist. Faith is believing I remain greater than those problems. My child, I need your attention for this next part. There are habits and environments around you that have been quietly draining your peace. Not everything around you is helping you grow. Some conversations feed anxiety, some patterns feed discouragement, some environments keep reopening wounds, and wisdom requires honesty. You cannot keep protecting what is harming your spirit. Pay attention to what repeatedly steals your peace. Pay attention to what constantly pulls you away from hope, prayer, and clarity. Guard your heart carefully, because what repeatedly enters your heart eventually shapes your perspective. You have been asking me for peace while surrounding yourself with chaos, asking for healing while remaining attached to what keeps hurting you, asking for direction while refusing stillness. Slow down, listen again. You do not need to rush every decision. You do not need to force every outcome. And you do not need to solve your future overnight. There is wisdom in waiting for clarity. There is strength in patience, and there is safety in walking with me rather than ahead of me. My child, I know this message is reaching places inside you that words rarely touch, because this is not merely about circumstances. This is about your heart. You have carried fear of disappointment for too long. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of trusting again, and fear has been disguising itself as wisdom. But fear and wisdom are not the same. Wisdom listens, fear panics, wisdom waits, fear rushes, wisdom trusts, fear assumes disaster. I am not calling you to reckless living. I am calling you to faithful living. And faithful living requires courage. So hear me clearly. If you are surrendering your worries to God today, write, I give it all to you. Lord, you do not have to know every answer before taking the next faithful step. You do not have to eliminate every uncertainty before trusting me. And you do not need perfect strength before moving forward. I will meet you in your weakness. I will guide you in your uncertainty, and I will remain faithful even when your emotions fluctuate. My child, this is not the end of your story. Do not write final conclusions while I am still working. Do not surrender your hope while heaven is still moving. And do not ignore this message, because what I am speaking into your spirit today is preparing you for what comes next. There is more ahead, more healing, more clarity, more restoration, more purpose than you currently see. So stay close to me, stay teachable, stay prayerful, and keep your heart open. Because I am not finished speaking, stay with me a little longer. Do not rush past what I am saying to your spirit today, because there are truths your heart desperately needs to remember. I know that lately you have been living with tension inside you. One part of you believes I am working, while another part feels tired from waiting. One part of you still hopes, while another part fears disappointment. And sometimes those two voices battle inside your heart until you no longer know what to feel. Let this be your declaration today. Fear will not control my future, but I know. I understand the language of your silent tears. I understand the exhaustion you hide behind polite smiles. I understand the heaviness you cannot always explain to people around you. And that is why I am speaking again. Do not ignore this. You have spent too much time believing that strength means pretending you are fine. You have convinced yourself that carrying everything quietly is maturity. But my child, strength is not denial. Strength is honesty before me. I already know where you feel weak. I already know where fear visits your thoughts. I already know the places where discouragement tries to settle. And still, I remain with you. You do not have to impress me with perfect faith. You do not have to hide your questions. You do not have to pretend you never struggle. Bring me the real condition of your heart. Bring me the confusion. Bring me the fear. Bring me the disappointment. Because healing begins where honesty meets my presence. Some of you have become spiritually exhausted because you keep fighting private battles without allowing yourselves to rest in me. You keep trying to solve emotional pain with human effort alone. You try to think your way into peace. You try to control outcomes to feel secure. You try to predict tomorrow so fear cannot surprise you. But peace was never meant to come from control. Peace comes from trust, and trust grows when you remember who I am. I am still the God who makes a way where none appears visible. I am still the God who restores broken places. I am still the God who turns mourning into strength and despair into testimony. Do not allow temporary emotions to rewrite eternal truth. I know that some of you feel disappointed with yourselves. You thought you would be further ahead by now. You thought certain battles would already be behind you. You thought your faith would feel stronger, your life more stable, your future more certain. And quietly, without realizing it, you began condemning yourself. You call yourself behind. You call yourself weak. You wonder if you have failed me. But hear me carefully. Growth is not always loud. Healing is not always instant. And progress is not always visible. You judge yourself by perfection while I look at direction. Are you still seeking me? Are you still rising after discouragement? Are you still reaching toward hope even while hurting? Then do not call yourself defeated. The enemy wants you to become so discouraged by your imperfections that you stop noticing my grace. Before you leave, write this prayer in faith. God, help me hear your voice and follow your path. But my grace has carried you farther than you realize. Look back for a moment. There were seasons when you believed you would not survive emotionally. There were nights when anxiety felt overwhelming. There were disappointments that shook your confidence. And yet, you are still here, not because you carried yourself alone, but because my mercy sustained you. Do not ignore your own survival. Do not overlook how much strength I have already built within you. Some of you are grieving losses that others do not fully understand. The loss of relationships. The loss of trust. The loss of dreams that once seemed certain. And grief has many forms. Sometimes grief is not only about death. Sometimes it is mourning the future you imagined but did not receive. I know that pain. I know how deeply disappointment can wound the heart. And I want you to understand something. You do not dishonor me by grieving honestly. You do not offend me with sorrow. There is room in my presence for tears. There is room for questions. There is room for healing that takes time. Do not pressure yourself to heal faster than your heart can process. Do not condemn yourself because recovery feels slow. Healing is not weakness. Healing is holy work. And I am patient with the process. My child, there are also wounds inside you that came from words spoken carelessly, words spoken in anger, words spoken by people whose opinions shaped your identity. Some of you still carry old sentences inside your minds. You are not enough. You will never change. You always fail. No one really sees your value. And although years may have passed, those words still echo inside your thinking. But those voices do not define you. If you believe God brought this message to you today, write, "I will not ignore God's voice." People may speak from their own pain, limitations, or misunderstandings. But I speak truth, and my truth stands above every accusation. You are not worthless. You are not unwanted. You are not beyond healing. You are not forgotten. Do not allow old wounds to become permanent agreements. Some of you have unknowingly built your identity around survival. You became strong because life demanded it. Independent because disappointment taught caution. Guarded because trust once brought pain. And while survival helped you endure difficult seasons, survival was never meant to become your permanent home. I do not want you merely surviving. I want you living with peace, living with purpose, living with confidence rooted in my love. But that requires courage, because healing often asks you to release protective walls you built during painful seasons. And I know that feels frightening. You fear vulnerability. You fear disappointment repeating itself. You fear trusting again. But my child, wisdom builds healthy boundaries without imprisoning the heart. Do not allow past pain to convince you that love, peace, or healthy connection are impossible. What wounded you is not the final authority over your future. I am. There is another truth I need you to hear. You have been too focused on what is missing. I understand why. Human hearts naturally notice absence, the prayer still unanswered, the opportunity still delayed, the relationship still uncertain, the finances still stretched. And slowly, lack begins to dominate your vision until you forget what still remains. If you are waiting on God for a breakthrough, declare in faith, God, I am still working in my life, but gratitude protects perspective. Look carefully. You still have breath. You still have purpose. You still have mercy available today. You still have opportunities to grow, love, and begin again. And although gratitude does not erase pain, it prevents pain from becoming your entire identity. I am not asking you to deny difficulty. I am asking you to remember that difficulty is not the whole story. My child, there are people listening to this message who feel ashamed of how tired they have become, ashamed that their faith feels weaker, ashamed that they still struggle with fear, ashamed that certain wounds continue reopening, and shame has been whispering that something must be wrong with them. But shame is not my voice. Conviction invites growth. Shame invites hiding. Conviction says, come closer. Shame says, stay away. And I am not pushing you away. I am calling you nearer. Do not run from me because of your weakness. Run toward me with it. I already know the parts of your life that still need healing. I already know the habits you wrestle with. I already know the private discouragement you rarely mention. And my love remains, not because you earned it, but because my love is rooted in my nature, not your performance. You live in a world that measures worth by achievement, but my love is not earned through perfection. My love reaches you even in unfinished places. Do not ignore this. You have spent too much time trying to become worthy of love that I already give freely. Rest. You do not have to earn my compassion. You do not have to prove your value. You are already seen, already known, already deeply loved. My child, you have also been carrying fear about the future, and I understand why. The future feels uncertain, questions remain unanswered, responsibilities feel heavy, and fear keeps asking, what if things go wrong? But fear always speaks in possibilities of disaster. Faith remembers my faithfulness. Let me ask you something. How many times have you worried about outcomes that never happened? How many nights did fear predict disaster that never arrived? Fear presents imagination as certainty, but I am calling you back to trust. You do not know every detail of tomorrow, neither do you need to, because your peace was never meant to depend on knowing everything ahead. Take a moment and write one word you need from God today. Peace, healing, strength, or hope. Your peace depends on knowing me, and I remain faithful. Some of you are carrying financial worries. You wonder how needs will be met, how responsibilities will be handled, how stability will return, and stress has been sitting heavily upon your mind. Listen carefully. I understand practical concerns. I do not dismiss them. But do not allow provision to become your God and scarcity your master. Your life is bigger than fear. Your worth is bigger than money. And although wisdom and responsibility matter, panic is not wisdom. You have survived difficult seasons before, and I have not abandoned you now. Keep working faithfully, keep walking wisely, keep trusting me with what exceeds your control. I am not careless with your needs. My child, some of you are grieving prayers that seemed unanswered. You prayed for restoration that did not happen. You prayed for people who still walked away. You prayed for miracles that unfolded differently than expected. And disappointment quietly hardened part of your heart. You stopped expecting, stopped hoping, stopped asking with confidence. Because disappointment convinced you that expectation is dangerous. But disappointment must not become your theology. I hear prayers even when answers look different than expected. And sometimes my answers protect you from outcomes you cannot yet understand. You see one chapter. I see the whole story. You see immediate pain. I see eternal purpose. And although you may not understand everything today, do not assume silence means absence. I am still moving, still speaking, still caring for your life. My child, I also need to warn you gently about something. Bitterness has been knocking at the door of your heart. Not always dramatic bitterness, sometimes quiet resentment. Quiet anger, quiet disappointment toward people, or even toward me. And unhealed bitterness becomes heavy poison inside the spirit. I am not asking you to deny pain. I am asking you not to live inside it forever. Forgiveness does not always mean instant trust. It does not erase wisdom or healthy boundaries. But forgiveness releases the prison bitterness builds around the heart. If this message touched your heart, write, Lord, I am listening. Do not let pain become permanent residence. You deserve freedom. And freedom begins with surrendering bitterness into my hands. My beloved child, I know this message is speaking deeply to you because your spirit has been longing for reassurance. You have needed reminder after reminder because life has exhausted you. And that does not make you weak. Even strong hearts need encouragement. Even faithful people need comfort. Even hopeful souls sometimes grow weary, and so I speak again. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not carrying life alone. I am nearer than you realize. And though storms may still surround parts of your life, storms do not cancel my presence. Stay close to me. Keep listening. My child, there are moments when I speak softly to comfort you, and there are moments when I speak firmly because your heart needs awakening. Today I am speaking with both tenderness and urgency. Do not ignore this. You have been carrying more emotional weight than you admit, not only from current problems, but from accumulated weariness, disappointments stacked upon disappointments, responsibilities layered upon responsibilities. And because you kept moving forward, people assumed you were fine. But I know when your smile is tired. I know when your heart feels stretched thin. I know when your spirit longs for rest, even while your hands keep working. And I want you to stop believing that you must earn rest by exhausting yourself first. You live in a world that rewards constant striving. A world that tells you your value depends on productivity, success, and performance. But I did not create you to become a machine of endless pressure. I created you for relationship with me. And relationship requires stillness. Some of you have become so accustomed to noise that silence feels uncomfortable. You fill your days with distractions because stillness exposes emotions you have not fully faced. You stay busy because slowing down forces you to confront loneliness, grief, fear, or uncertainty. But my child, healing often begins in quiet places. Not every answer comes through noise. Not every breakthrough arrives through striving. There are things I can say to your heart only when you stop running long enough to listen. You keep asking for direction while rushing ahead with anxious thoughts. Slow down, come near. Declare this over your life in the comments. My story is not over. God is still moving. You do not need to have every answer tonight. You do not need to solve your entire future this week. And you do not need to punish yourself for being human. I see how hard you have been trying to stay strong, trying to hold your family together, trying to remain hopeful, trying to manage emotions you do not always understand. And while effort has its place, I want you to understand this truth. You cannot heal through self-pressure alone. You cannot find peace by constantly demanding more from yourself. Peace grows where trust replaces pressure. There is something else I need to say. You have mistaken delay for denial. Because certain prayers have taken longer than expected, fear whispered that perhaps I said no. And after enough waiting, discouragement began writing conclusions you were never meant to believe. But my child, timing matters, preparation matters, and trust matters. You only see the visible side of delay. You see the waiting, the uncertainty, the discomfort. But you do not see everything happening beyond your sight. You do not see the protection. You do not see the hidden rearranging. You do not see the relationships, opportunities, and circumstances still being positioned. And because you cannot see the whole picture, you sometimes assume nothing is happening. But silence does not mean inactivity. A seed beneath the soil appears inactive before growth becomes visible. Yet life is already forming underneath. And some of you are standing over seeds I planted, assuming nothing is happening simply because growth is not visible yet. Do not dig up what I am growing. Do not abandon hope prematurely, and do not let impatience destroy what faith has been nurturing. If you refuse to give up on your faith, write, I choose to trust God. I know waiting hurts. I know uncertainty feels heavy, but waiting with me is never wasted. There are lessons waiting teaches that comfort never could. Patience, dependence, discernment, endurance. These qualities are not punishments. They are preparation. My child, some of you listening have been quietly wrestling with self-doubt, not because you lack ability, but because disappointment weakened your confidence. Failure shook your courage. Criticism planted insecurity. And now, even when opportunities appear, fear asks whether you are truly capable. But listen to me carefully. Your identity is not built upon perfect success. Your worth is not measured by flawless performance. And your future is not cancelled by past failure. Stop speaking over yourself with language I never gave you. Stop calling yourself incapable. Stop declaring defeat over situations that are still unfolding. Words shape perspective, and perspective shapes expectation. You have spent too much time speaking from wounded emotions instead of enduring truth. My truth says you are still growing, still learning, still becoming. Do not condemn unfinished progress. You criticize yourself for not being farther ahead, yet you rarely acknowledge how far you have already come. You survived seasons that once terrified you. You endured disappointments that felt unbearable. You kept believing even when answers delayed. And I want you to recognize something. Write Amen if you believe God has not forgotten you and is preparing something greater. That is strength, not perfect strength, but real strength. Strength that rises again, strength that refuses to disappear, strength that keeps reaching toward hope. And I have been developing that strength within you all along. There are also dreams inside your heart that you have nearly stopped mentioning. Dreams you once carried with excitement, but now protect with silence. Not because the dream disappeared, but because disappointment made vulnerability feel dangerous. I understand that. Hope can feel risky after repeated setbacks, but do not mistake caution for wisdom when caution becomes fear. I planted purpose inside you for a reason. Not every dream comes from me, but many dreams I place inside hearts begin as quiet longing before becoming visible reality. Do not abandon what I am still shaping. Some of you fear dreaming again because disappointment taught you to expect loss. You tell yourself not to expect too much, not to hope too deeply, not to believe too boldly, because lowered expectations seem safer. But fear disguised as safety still limits the heart. I am not asking you to deny wisdom or ignore reality. I am asking you not to surrender possibility. Do not let disappointment become the author of your future. My child, there are people you still grieve, people you miss, people whose absence changed your life. And grief has left certain places inside you tender and fragile. Sometimes memories comfort you, sometimes they ache. Sometimes you replay conversations wishing for different endings. And there are moments when sorrow returns unexpectedly, leaving you wondering whether healing is truly happening. If you are surrendering your worries to God today, write, I give it all to you. Lord, listen carefully. Healing does not erase love. Healing does not erase memory. And healing does not always move in straight lines. Some days feel lighter, some days feel heavier. That does not mean you are failing. Healing is often layered, patient, gradual, and I am with you in every layer. Do not judge yourself harshly for still feeling deeply. The heart heals with gentleness, not condemnation. And my compassion remains patient toward your process. Some of you also carry hidden disappointment toward yourselves, not only over mistakes, but over perceived weakness. You thought you would have healed faster, trusted better, recovered sooner, and secretly you feel frustrated with your own progress. But growth is not mechanical. You are not machinery requiring instant repair. You are human. And healing is not measured by perfection. It is measured by willingness. Are you still willing to grow? Still willing to trust? Still willing to keep walking even while healing? Then do not call yourself hopeless. Before you leave, write this prayer in faith. God, help me hear your voice and follow your path.